What's going on there, folks? Good morning, good afternoon. It is the Earthmaster out here on this weekend, Memorial Day weekend coming up here. Saturday, May 27th, 2023, about 11:25 a.m. here along the west coast in the state of California. Activity in the Big Island, a 2.5, the latest earthquake shown up here on the map. Looks like that's taking place just around the Pahala area. Still seeing some movement up here around the Kilauea volcano. This area has been shown a little bit of sign of heightened unrest as far as earthquake activity goes. Quick glance here at the hazard notification system from the USGS in regards to the HVO, the Hawaiian folks there. Doesn't look like they put out a update yet today. Looks like they'll probably get to that a little bit later on this afternoon. Let's go ahead and check out the seismograph stations here in the area. Man, that bird is loud. We have these western scrub jays. They're very smart birds, but they're also very loud on occasion. I don't know if you guys can hear that or not. All right, looking at the seismograph station here over the past 12 hours, past 24 hours here, we'll look at the 12-hour map. Still shows quite a bit of earthquake activity ramping up here around Kilauea volcano, and a lot more. And I noticed this last night. I think I'm going to be double checking this. A lot more than what's been showing up here on the map. They've only been putting up a small percentage of earthquakes that are happening here at the Kilauea volcano. They're showing 9 earthquakes listed up there on the map. That's in the last 24 hours. But the last 12 hours shows us, well, way more than 9. So I'm not for sure exactly what's going on with the lack of reporting there. But there's definitely a bunch more earthquake activity occurring there at Kilauea volcano than what's being shown on the USGS main page. So continue to watch that. Tilt meters out here are up and down for the most part over the past couple days. But if we look at the gradual trend here, the long-term trend since about the end of April, this covers the majority of this past month here. Obviously a uptick. This is a swelling, so to speak, of the ground below, deformation, inflation there at Kilauea volcano. So still kind of watching that. I do believe this should kick back up here in just a matter of weeks. We'll continue to watch that as things continue to evolve there on the Big Island far as Kilauea volcano goes. All right, looking up north here into the Alaska region, 4.6 early this morning. It looks like about 9 o'clock or so, just outside of the Cook Inlet area. Now, this area did see, looks like I've seen a little aftershock activity, but I know yesterday, let me see if I can pull up the last, where'd that go? I know maybe it was a little bit further up north here outside of Anchorage. We did have a 4.1 a couple days ago. Definitely looks like increasing activity here up against the mountain range, just north here of the Cook Inlet area. There's quite a few fault systems that run through here. Not all shown up here on the map, but definitely a seismic increase here. And some of these are deep earthquakes occurring well below the surface, 135 kilometers or so underneath this area. So continue to watch this region for some possible further large-scale activity upstream here. This is a major subduction zone and also a major accumulator of stress buildup across the plates here between the North American plate and the Pacific plate here. Roughly about 60 mm per year. Of course, the further west you go on the subduction line, the higher the accumulated slip rate is. All right, over here to the west, the Kuril-Kamchatka Trench got one little earthquake, one lonesome earthquake here last night. That came in just as I was going to sleep, 4.0, very end of the Kuril-Kamchatka Trench. Since then, it looks like a little bit of activity ramping up here south of the Japan area, outside of Tokyo. A couple fours kicking off there in that region. Let's see if we got anything across the Mariana Trench. Doesn't look like it yet. Nothing across the Izu Trench. Down south, a little less earthquake activity today across the Indonesia region. Not as much of a huge cluster as what we've seen in weeks past. And looking at the USGS map here, only a handful of little earthquakes over the last 24 hours. Back over here across the Tonga Trench, of course, yesterday 6.0 coming in and a 4.4. Deeper movement quake there into the just south of the Fiji Islands region. A glance here at the EMSC model confirms that. Not a whole lot of newer activity yet either. So there's a gnat. I don't know why, but they're out. We need I think all the moisture in the ground and the cooler temperatures out here in California breeding a lot of bugs. All right, so most of the activity today looks like it has shifted down south somewhat here across the South America region and the Antarctica plate boundary, getting some good movement. But also, if you notice up here on the top part of the globe, up here north of Iceland, just off the coast of Greenland, getting a pretty good swarm of earthquake activity as well. So noticeable movement here across, can't really say the polar regions, but awfully close. A little unusual to see that type of activity on both sides of the planet there, top and bottom. Let's see what we got here from the USGS, showing some activity again well north of Iceland, around the Greenland Sea. A couple fours kicking off this morning so far, including an upper 4.9. This is a divergent boundary up here, way up here. Notice that region, the arrows pointing away from each other, creating some new seafloor up there. Gradual seafloor. But yeah, that's the general direction here, it looks like, of the plate boundary spreading apart. And also down here into the, let's see, where'd we go here? Well, I guess that is the South Sandwich Trench. Looks like they had a little bit more earthquake activity this morning. I thought it was a little bit further south, but all right, yeah, 5.5, 47 kilometers deep. Now, I know this region has seen a little bit of movement here over the last week, with a deeper 5.1 here, 94 kilometers deep. Adding, it looks like a little bit of strain here upstream along the subduction level. So kind of keep an eye on that. Let me see what else we got down there in the south, off the coast of Chile, it looks like. Now, that's a 5.3 here. I don't see it showing up yet on the USGS model. That's going to be right within this plate boundary here, this kind of a triple point boundary. But nothing showing up yet. We got yesterday's earthquake, 5.9, but remember I mentioned to watch this area over here, and it looks like we are seeing some uptick in movement across this region, but just not really showing up here on the USGS map. 5.3 and a bunch of other smaller quakes there below the threshold that the USGS uses. They only show 4.5 and above sometimes. And then sometimes they'll throw up like a 2-pointer out in France or something. It's kind of odd. But, well, they're showing 4 point. Looks like they're showing well below 4.5 right now, at least far as the lower fours go. All right, we'll just continue to, it's just one of those things we have to deal with there with the reporting agencies. All right, Puerto Rico Trench. Quite a few 2s and 3s, it looks like, up here around the Puerto Rico Trench again. And quite a bit of activity across the mainland there of Puerto Rico. Kind of a mixed bag of earthquake activity all over the place today. Definitely noticeably quieter across the Indonesia area. Not a whole lot going on across the Java Trench northward. That's kind of our quiet zone. But also the plate boundary here. You got the Mariana Islands, Mariana Trench, northward into the Izu Trench, and other subduction zones. All very quiet here over the past, I don't know, for a while. Let's go back the last 30 days, 4.5 and above. This is the Mariana Trench here, Izu Trench up north. We did see what looks like a little bit of activity here, mostly back into the second week of May, and prior to that, some 4s and 5s. But generally speaking, this area is fairly quiet when it comes to the term of plate movement, right? This area should be showing a lot more activity here. Notice this arrow, these arrows all pointing towards Mariana Trench, being backed up here by the Eurasia plate heading to the southeast, putting a squeeze, so to speak, on the Mariana Trench and the whole Filipino plate in general. Seeing a lot of activity over here around Japan and Taiwan southward, but nothing as far as larger scale movement goes across the eastern section of this plate. Very minimal activity. So I think that's one area that should be showing some development here soon, very soon. And of course, California, just little spotty, right? I don't know. I think this whole area is just fused together as one big plate now, and it may never separate. I'm just joking aside there, but it just almost seems like nothing ever moves down here across the San Andreas Fault, and that can't be good news, right? You really think about it. This is a major plate boundary here, and directional plate movement here obviously shows you along the San Andreas Fault here. Good portion of the North American plate sliding to the southeast, while the Pacific plate here cruising off towards the northwest, with the general plate movement here kind of showing this fashion here with the arrows. And it's been quiet for a little while down there. I'm talking about the southern branch here of the San Andreas Fault. Awfully quiet. Little microquakes here and there. Quake activity prior to and after the plate boundary. So we know it's technically active, right? Just building up strain. Lots of it. Today, not a whole lot of movement going on. Mostly smaller microquake activity. 2.5 and above. 0 down here in Southern California. Up north, I believe these are all from yesterday. Yep. Goodness. Perfect timing. As far as Northern California goes, in the microquake department, fairly quiet, aside from down here into the Clear Lake volcanic field, Cobb Mountain area. Still seeing some movement. This is an area that sees, it's quite a bit of earthquake activity, but not in the reason that you would think. Obviously, there is some geothermal dynamics taking place here, with some hydrothermal plants in full swing and operation. And I'm sure there's a couple newer plants that have been built out here since this image was last taken. Major hotspot in producing energy there by injecting some raw sewage below. That's a little green factory, factories, I guess, out here in the Northern California area. But at the same time, there's a whole process involved that involves some earthquake activity as well. Check it out, Calpine hydrothermal operations. Intermountain West regions, fairly quiet. Goodness, nothing going on Yellowstone. But again, it's the weekend. We're not going to see anything showing up here unless a seismologist, geologist, whoever's in charge up there, scientist, decides to look at some of the seismographs and say, okay, yeah, there's an earthquake here, an earthquake there. But far as any preliminary earthquake activity being reported out here, they just don't do it on the weekends or holidays unless it's above a certain level. If it triggers above a 3.0, then obviously we'll see it pop up. Same with Yellowstone. So I'm sure there's earthquake activity out here, at least a little bit. Nothing showing up on the map. And same for Yellowstone. Let's check that out here real quick. By the way, tremor, this is the past week minus today, 1,228 epicenters of tremor at the southern end of the Cascadia. We should watch for some activity upstream along Northern California area as far as earthquake movement goes. Yellowstone, let's see here. Yellowstone. Looks like a little bit of small earthquake activity here around Maple Creek. A couple very small specks, but had some last night within the last 24 hours, but those aren't up on the map because they're not above the 2.5 threshold. Texas, let's see here. South of San Antonio, looks like a 2.2 kicking up out here. Choke Canyon Reservoir. Ooh. But if you look, oil fields galore. That's just listed on the map satellite view here. We'll show you guys exactly what's going on. 2.2 right underneath directly underneath, but 10 kilometers below. A wastewater disposal facility. Oil pumping operations, some fracking operations out there as well. Same for over here around the western section of Texas. Nothing going on across the eastern portion of the country. And let's see, what else is there? New Zealand wasn't showing too much at all. Nothing up on the map. Well, now we got one, 3.2. That must have just came in. Yep. Green flag, 3.2. That's looks like just along the Kermadec Trench. Let me check out the GeoNet servers here and see what we have. Okay, what's going on here? Ooh, why, oh, there we go. Why was it so invisible? It's just one of those days. All right, earthquake activity here. I think I'm going to barbecue today and just enjoy this weekend. It's supposed to be about 89 degrees today here in Northern Cal. It's actually fairly cool for us. Perfect day for barbecuing. Smoking out the neighborhood there with some, I like to use cherry wood chips. It's excellent. Well, earthquake activity. Well, 13 minutes ago, there's that 3.2. Again, well north here off the North Island area. Let's give a quick glance here at the drums. This will give us just a good indicator of what's going on. And, whoa, was that last night? I think that was last night. Had, looks like maybe 3 or 4 earthquakes there centered around the area. Let me see exactly where this is at. Mostly it looks like around the center section here of the North Island. Was that showing up here on the map? Earthquakes here? There we go. No, 3 days ago. That's not 3 days ago, though. All magnitudes. 3.2, 14 minutes ago. This is probably sometime last night. At least last night to me, anyway. 6 hours ago. There's a 3.1, but that's well north here. It looked a little bit bigger than the 1.2 and 1.8. Just trying to see, maybe the 2.5, 4.4. That's well north though. 3.7s maybe. Looks like that's north of Taupo super volcano. Either way, a little bit of activity kicking up there across the area. Let's see what's going on. Also, Timothy here, moderator and a member here on the channel, runs a really cool website to monitor New Zealand earthquake activity, nzquakes.online here. Pretty cool site. That shows quite a bit of activity here across New Zealand, and also a fairly good list of that movement. I'm gonna have to check on that. What I want to do real quick here is see what's going on at the Taupo super volcano. Nothing really. So that activity, whatever it may be, is positioned a little bit further away from there. But yeah, that's almost 12 hours, or no, more than 12. That's close to 20 hours ago. So yeah, a little bit of activity. Nothing really showing up there on the USGS map. I'm not for sure why. Maybe it's popped off the 24-hour threshold. Look at that. Go back a good distance there, and I'm just not seeing it. It's a little odd. All right, let's move on here. And see what else we have. I think that's about it, though. Let's see. Himalaya is pretty quiet. 2.3 coming into the Mediterranean area, just outside of Turkey, it looks like. Yeah, so, all right. We'll just see how today goes. I mean, it's definitely... looks like it's fairly active over here along this portion of the planet. Roughly about the Middle America Trench southward, but then again, can't forget up north here. It's just a broad scale of movement taking place here today. 2.4 in Alaska as well. We'll see how it goes, folks. No specific areas of interest currently. I'm not seeing any major swarming going on in any specific regions, but we'll definitely pay attention to some quiet areas, Mariana Trench and up around the Java Trench area. All right, space weather activity. We'll see if any of these solar flares are affecting my judgment. Doesn't look like it, although this sunspot region right here, I've been watching this over the past couple days, 3315, is looking fairly nice and dynamic. This thing has grown drastically here over the last couple days. It was just a little baby over here a few days ago. Has since grown a little bit here. Notice the complex structure within the center of that sunspot, while the rest of these kind of just drift off the western limb here of the sun. There's still a little bit of closeness in the polarities of these sunspot regions right here, but for the most part, I think we need to watch this area directly facing us. 3315 is the number to watch. Overnight, looks like we did see a little bit of sea flaring going on right here, but again, we'll continue to watch this sunspot. UV filter array here will show this area of interest. It's currently not flaring, but again, those magnetic structures within that sunspot look a little complex, and it does look fairly awesome there on the visible disk. Overall threat, 99% chance for a C flare, M flare at 40, 10% chance for an X flare. So things have kind of jumped up a little bit. Continue to watch this and report back on it should anything pop off. Looks like there was a nice prominence eruption earlier out on the eastern limb of the sun. It looks like it did produce maybe a massive CME. Notice that image here just blasting off. Beautiful. But it will be directed away from Earth, unfortunately. So no major adjustments here to the 3-day geomagnetic forecast. Things look fairly green across the board, meaning less greenery up in the sky as far as the aurora watchers go. Very minimal possibilities there. All right, weather. What's going on out here in the weather department today? Here again in Northern California, seeing a little chance of thunderstorms, so I'm going to keep my eyes open for that. Slight chance for some severe weather out in the portions of eastern Wyoming and down into the Texas and New Mexico area again, where there is a 5% probability of tornadoes down there around Clovis, New Mexico. Seeing a whole bunch of storm chasers out there getting ready to set up for the day. It is nice and green down there. Normally it's obviously it is a desert, but it is beautiful with the greenery this time of year. So we're looking at that potential there for tornadoes today. Wind and hail events. It looks like the main threat for hail is going to be that hatched area where the 5% chance for tornado probability is. Again, around the Clovis, New Mexico area and eastward into a portion of Texas. So watch out for that today. Tomorrow looks to be about the same. The south over here is staying mostly dry as far as any major severe weather goes. A glance at the thunderstorm forecasts throughout the day. Redding's actually in a 40% chance for thunderstorms today. Interesting, very interesting there. Chico possibly maybe into that as well. We'll have to keep our eyes open here in Northern California. But up north, getting some much needed rain. This is a very typical summertime pattern. And if you really think about it, it's technically still kind of spring, isn't it? If you really think about it, this is more typical of July. It's been a weird, very weird year for weather. I want to see what's going on here across the symbol for the long distance range here. We're expecting 80s out here along the west coast with a little bit of troughing. That's what's creating these thunderstorms out here. Major ridging up here across areas north of the Great Lakes. That spells hot and dry. There's some more troughing going on here across Northern California. Bring up some thunderstorms. A little bit cooler weather down into the portions of the southeast. And as we, whoa, wow, even further troughing out here as we head towards the first week of June. That's going to be a little bit cooler and stormier conditions out here, which is pretty cool for me. I like it. And the super duper high pressure system up north continues to stay over Canada, while a good zonal, it looks like some fairly cool moisture down here, cooler temperatures across a good portion of the United States. That's crazy. I'm not seeing any major heat spells out here for the West Coast. That is good. But Canada, goodness, cooking up there. That is crazy. All right. Well, I mean, I'm not a big fan of the heat. I can handle upper 80s, mid 80s. All right, folks. Have a good one. Stay safe out there. I'm going to jump off here and probably try to get some yard work done before it does hit 100. I know it's going to be hot. It's just temporarily taking a little break. We'll catch you guys back here a little bit later tonight. Take care and have yourself a beautiful day. Enjoy this weekend. No matter where you're at, definitely something to be thankful for out here. Take care. We'll catch you guys back here later tonight.